Right, welcome everybody. Grade 10 English. This is Unit 1, and we are going to be looking at a couple of words related to education. Do you know all of these words? Reception, lab, subject, grandfather, classroom, library, board, woman, desk, student, computer, man, and brother. I'm sure you are all familiar with these words. Let's just have a look at a quick quiz to make sure that everybody knows all of these words. What do you see in these pictures? So choose the correct word. This is an example of a library. Excellent. Next one here, this is an example of a desk, and that is followed by a white board, or board to keep it short and simple. This is the reception area of a school, and that's a very easy one. This is a computer. And here what we have is an example of a lab. Alright, now our first task is to put the words in the correct column. So here you've got reception, lab, subject, grandfather, classroom, brother, library, board. Okay, so are these examples of people, or are some of these words just simply related to school? Let's have a quick look. So reception is already given as an example, that belongs to school. Lab is also school as a subject. However, the word grandfather belongs to the group here of people. Classroom again goes with school. Brother, as you would have guessed, will also go with the people. Library, school, and as is board. Woman, though, with people. Desk is the next one, which is also for school, and boy and man also with people. So people, grandfather, woman, boy, man, and brother. School will be reception, lab, subject, classroom, library, board, and desk. Now, in this next task here, we are going to look at a short text about schools in the old days, and what we will have to do is fill in the gaps with the missing words. The missing words are all from the previous slide. If you want, you can take a screenshot and complete, not complete, I mean fill in the gaps, or if you want, we can just do it together. So my grandfather was a student at Al Ahmadiyya. When he was at something, he studied the Quran, Arabic, and maths. The missing word, of course, is school. When he was at school. My grandfather used to study in a something on the first floor. So where did he study? In a classroom. That's the missing word. The students sat at small wooden desks. They didn't have computers like we have today. In the years after my grandfather left, the students studied more subjects like English, science, and geography. Alright, so these were the missing words: school, classroom, desks, computer, students, and subjects. Questions? Now let's continue with a similar task. Complete the sentences with these words. We've got books, classroom, school, students, boys, board, and desks. Feel free to take a screenshot, match the words with the sentences, and then we can check the answers together. So in number one, the something studied English and science studied. Of course, the students studied. The girls sat at their desks in the classroom. At the desks, there were something on the shelf. It's very important to always read the sentence, the ending of the sentence as well, because more often than not, that's where you will have your answer. So there were some on the shelf. So we are talking about books, bookshelves. The teacher wrote a question on the, so where do teachers normally write their questions? On the board, in the old days at least. Omar didn't walk to school this morning, and the something was on the second floor. The classroom was on the second floor. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough space here for classroom to fit in the gap. Nevertheless, students, desks, books, board, school, and classroom. All right, let's take a look at our next task here. What you will have to do is complete the words with the letters P or B, or if we are talking about sounds, it's the P as in police, or the B sound as in book. You write with this is the first one, and this is of course pencil, P. You read this, that will be book. You use this at work and school. The missing letter is P, computer. This is a type of sport, that will be football with a B. You write on this, and that is paper. You eat this with cheese, that is bread. You can swim in this, that's the swimming pool, and your teacher writes on this in the classroom. That is the board, whiteboard or blackboard, or smartboard for that. All right, so that's it about the letters P and B. In the next task, we are going to look at a little bit of grammar. We are talking here, of course, about schools in the past. So our task here is to circle the correct words. My parents studied science at school. My parents are no longer students, so they studied in the past. They studied science at school. And the desks was or were at the back of the classroom. The difference between was and were is you will have to check what the subject is. Here our subject is desks, so we're talking about more than one desk. It is plural, hence the correct answer is were. Khaled had or have lessons at 5 o'clock yesterday. Now 5 o'clock yesterday is of course in the past. The past form of the verb have is had. So we'll say Khaled had lessons at 5 o'clock yesterday. Moving on to number 4, the students did or students do their homework. Once again, we read the sentence, the full sentence. Last Thursday is clearly in the past. Did is the past form of do. Do is an irregular verb. Grandmother goes or went to school. Well, once again, most likely she's not a student anymore. So went to school is the correct one. We use the past form of the verb go. And last but not least, we talked or talk about our lesson last night. Again, past form, we talked about our lesson last night. All right, let's move on to our last task here. Write the sentences in activity 5 as negative sentences. My parents didn't study science at school. That's negative. You will see the positive at the top left corner. My parents studied science. Right, number 2 was the desks were at the back of the classroom. And the negative version of it will be the desks were not at the back or weren't at the back. This is was and were will simply take not to form the negatives. Okay, as we will see, or as we see already here in the first example, if you look at my parents studied or didn't study, main verbs will take did for questions and negatives, but was and were will be different in that sense, in that we never say didn't was or didn't be or didn't is, anything like that. Were not or was not. Number 3, Khaled had lessons at 5 o'clock yesterday. Had is the past simple form. To make it negative, we use didn't and then the infinitive. How to keep it, yeah. Then well, I'm just going to say present form of the verb, even though that's not technically correct. But as you can see it with number 1, didn't study is the past. Here it will be didn't have. Khaled didn't have lessons at 5 o'clock. Be very careful here, never to To say anything like didn't, had, or didn't, went, that is not correct. Did already expresses the past. So when we see did, we know that we are talking about something that happened before. So think of it this way. Did already shows that it was yesterday. The verb, even if it is in the present, I will already know that I'm talking about the past. Right, what happens here with did in number 4? The students did their homework last Thursday. A common mistake is to say the students didn't their homework. Did is only helping us here. We need the main verb. Did can only show that it was past, or didn't only shows that it's a negative sentence in the past. We still need a main verb. Didn't have, didn't study, or in the case of do, didn't do. The correct sentence is the students didn't do their homework. Number 5, my grandfather went to school. Oh, grandmother, sorry. My grandmother didn't go to school is the correct one. And in number 6, we talked about our lessons last night. We didn't talk about our lessons last night. Okay, so that's a quick review of the past simple. In the negatives, didn't, and then the present or first form of the verb, but be careful with was and were, because those will only take not was not or were not, which can be shortened to wasn't or weren't. Right. If there are no questions, then I'll say that was a short session. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone, and have a nice day or evening or morning or whichever time of day you are watching this. Goodbye.